Delpilarians. Sa taon po ito, sa pagdiliwan natin ang isang radyo, mabuhay ang Pilipinas.
Radyo is always at your service. Kaya naman, ang feedback mo, suggestions nyo ay mahalaga sa amin to improve our programs on air and online. Para alam ni teacher yung strengths as well as the things in your mind na mas makatutulong sa mas effective na pagkatuto sa teleradyo. Please take time to send your feedbacks via Teleradyo Mu, which you can access by scanning the QR code on the right or typing the URL provided here, bit.ly/3ORVAY9. One more, this time you follow. bit.ly/3ORVAY9. Kaya send your hashtag TBH o hashtag RT dito sa Teleradyo Mu, kung saan ang feedback mo, suggestions nyo ay mahalaga sa teleradyo.
Makinig, manood na sa teleradyo. Makinig, manood na sa teleradyo. Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo. Sa gitna ng mapanubok na panahon, magkahatid sa kakibat ay diskusyon. Sama-sama tayo, kahit magkalayo. Sa programang ito, tiyak ang pagkatuto. Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo. Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo. Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo.
I learn, you learn, we learn at Teleradyo.
And while our darkest moments test our dedication to read and write to become the best in all occasions,
Determination, a resolution to do our mission for your ambition.
I learn,
You learn, we learn at Teleradyo. I learn, you learn, we learn at Teleradyo.
and while our darkest moments test our dedication, your generation gets the best of education.
Live at Teleradyo Studio, please welcome your teacher broadcaster, Ma'am Hilda P. Magahis.
Good afternoon, Delpilarians! You are tuned in to Teleradyo Marcelo, ang telearalan ng bawat Malulenyo. We are so glad to have you here at Teleradyo Marcelo. I am Mrs. Hilda P. Magahis, your teacher for the I Learn segment today. How was your day, everyone? I hope you are all doing fine because today we will be having a fun and exciting discussion. Be excited and attentive as you listen to our broadcast. Are you ready, Delpilarians? Have no fear, for we are here Let's make reading and writing fun and exciting! Welcome to I Learn, innovative ways to learn reading and writing skills. Where I learn, you learn, we learn at Teleradio Marcelo. Are you ready, Delpilarians? Do not forget to type in your name, strand, and section in our comment box. For more fun and exciting learning, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share Teleradio Marcelo on Facebook and on YouTube. Here you can watch the lessons that you miss so you can learn anytime, anywhere with Teleradio Marcelo, ang telearalan ng bawat Malolenyo.
Teleradio, Teleradio Marcelo, Teleradio, Teleradio Marcelo, Teleradio, Teleradio Marcelo.
Before we start our discussion for today with Sir John Lester Zamora, let me see if you could recall what we discussed last week. For us to remember our past lessons, we prepared 5 questions which you have to answer. Don't worry if you cannot remember the exact terms because you have choices to choose from. You have to type in our comment section the number of items together with the letter of your answer. Are you ready? Okay, question number 1. Counterclaims are opposite of blank. Is it A, stand, B, evidence, C, reason, D, claims? So let me see your answer.
10, 9, 8,
Okay.
7, 6, 5,
You just
4,
answer. Okay,
3,
Moises Atienza, your answer
1,
is letter D.
0.
Very good. So the answer is letter D. Counterclaims are opposite of claims. All right. Question number 2. What does counterclaim serve? A. Offers solution to problems. B. Agrees with the ideas of experts. C. Discusses an issue. D. Provides a conflicting angle or standpoint. Okay, what is your answer for number 2?
10, 9, 8,
Okay.
7, 6, 5,
So the answer,
4,
okay, you're correct.
3,
Gia Bulaong
2,
for number
1,
1. Okay,
0.
Jemima, you're correct. Okay, so number 2, okay, the answer is letter D also. Adrian Lois Iranzo, you're correct. Okay, next, question number 3. A counterclaim is one of the elements of blank. A, position. B, rebuttal. C, evidence. D, argument. Okay, what is your answer?
10, 9,
Okay,
8,
Janelle Carpio for
7,
number 2, you're
6,
correct. Angel
5,
Opiñano,
4, 3,
okay,
2,
you're correct
1,
for number 1.
0.
Jana May. Alright. Thank you, Dalpilarians, for your active participation. So for number 3, the answer is Anthony Salamante. Very good. Your answer is letter B. Okay, it is rebuttal. For number 4, counterclaims are claims made to A. Rebut new claim, B. Rebut specific claim, C. Rebut previous claim, D. Rebut an unknown claim. So what is your answer for number 4?
10,
Okay,
9,
very
8,
good. You are
7,
correct.
6,
Keep on
5,
answering.
4,
Keep on
3,
participating.
2, 1.
Good job, Dalpilarian. Okay, what is your answer for number 4, letter C, Nestle Jane? Okay, very good. Okay, last question. To rebut means A, to contradict someone's statement through a formal argument. B, to argue with someone's point of view about an issue. C, to affirm someone's statement even if it is wrong. And D, to oppose someone's statement in a contest. Okay, what's your answer for number 5? Okay, thank you, Dalpilarians, for your active participation. Very good, you're correct. number 4, Christina Baliton. So now for
10,
number 5,
9, 8,
I am
7,
waiting for your
6,
answer, Del
5,
Pilarians.
4,
Okay,
3,
very good.
2,
Jasmine Villarreal,
1.
your answer
0.
is letter A. Okay, very good. The purpose of rebuttal is to contradict someone's statement through a formal argument. Okay, that's all for our review. Did you get a perfect score? Okay, who got perfect score? Okay, I believe that you really learned a lot from the lesson last week. Okay, thank you so much.
Good afternoon once again. I am John Lester Zamora, and I will be with you for the next 15 minutes to discuss our lesson for today. So sit up straight, get a pen and paper to take notes with, listen very carefully, and try not to fall asleep. This is another day to upgrade our reading and writing skills. Last time, we were able to evaluate assertions and counterclaims. This time, let us determine the things that support these statements. Textual evidence. To start, here is our learning competency. Listen very carefully. For this session, you must be able to determine textual evidence to validate assertions and counterclaims made about a text read. Let us jump right to it. Let me start this by saying that the words we say and write are simply just like promises. Promises are also words. As much as broken-hearted we have been in the past, the quote, promises are not meant to be broken, should not be true, at least for reading and writing. When we say something, it should be backed up, not with actions, but also with evidence. Just like a promise, we hold the speaker accountable for what they may say. When they say something, they must provide evidence to prove it. We cannot just make claims and leave it at that. Words can change the world. And just like campaign elections and promises, if we speak or write empty words, or if we do not know how to distinguish them, we are in big trouble. To quote from Jon Snow in Game of Thrones Season 7, I am not going to swear an oath that I can't uphold. When enough people make false promises, words stop meaning anything. Then there are no more answers, only better and better lies. Let us talk about textual evidence first. As you may have figured out, uh, textual evidence is information found in a text that is utilized to back up assumptions, claims, or statements. In short, this is the support for your assertions and counterclaims as well. Without these, we only have ideas. While ideas are good and they live on, strong ideas persist because of evidence. That is why textual evidence also involves the development for argument and analysis. As you have already repeatedly heard from last discussions from this subject, it is not enough to claim something. They have to be explained logically. As usual, just like claims, textual evidence can also be explicit or implicit. If you remember the discussion about claims from the third quarter, it is the same thing. Evidence is explicit when it is specifically stated in a text. That means it is right there on the page. You can find what you are looking for just by reading. In news articles, position papers, or anything that aims to communicate directly, most evidence are explicit because they aim to be understood. The counterpart of this is implicit evidence. Implicit evidence is only gathered through clues given in a text. This means that they are not directly stated. You have to read between the lines. This is common in literary or entertainment texts. Some evidence have to be interpreted because they are figurative and not literal. That is why there are questions about the Bible, for example, whether its claims and evidence should be interpreted literally or figuratively, whether the 7-day creation of everything is symbolic or to be interpreted as literal. You have to consider whether the evidence you are looking for is implicit or explicit. Therefore, determining textual evidence requires you to be critical. Sometimes, texts may have evidence but they may be unreliable. Sometimes, they have evidence but they are not meant to be interpreted literally. Especially when dealing with implicit evidence, you have to make sure that your interpretation has basis and that you have considered the context. Do you remember our lesson on critical reading? Remember that non-critical reading is satisfied with what the text says and restating the key remarks. Critical reading goes beyond that and considers the goal of the text and how to interpret the text itself. In texts that are more information heavy and whose goal is to communicate directly instead of being figurative, evidence may come in the form of three things. Firstly, they may come in the form of facts and statistics. These are objectively validated information on your subject and are either true or not. For example, Pulse Asia survey states that President Duterte's approval ratings rose to 91%. This is a fact. It is also a fact that this survey resulted from the answers of 1,200 Filipinos. I will let you decide what to do with that information. As critical readers, of course. Next, we also have opinion from experts which may come from leading authorities on a topic, such as researchers or academics. That is right. We could use opinions as evidence as well. If they came from professionals and we have no time to study the same field that they have, we can use those opinions as evidence. For example, the opinion that vaccines are safe came from medical authorities. To question that and do our own experimentation would be time-consuming. So there are times that we use opinions as evidence. Lastly, evidence can also come in the form of anecdotes or personal anecdotes. These should be generalizable, relevant, and objectively considered. Remember that personal experiences or anecdotes might only represent your experiences, so be careful in generalizing them. If your grandparents, for example, say that a certain era or period in history was peaceful, then that might be inaccurate because there might be other experiences. It is not enough to use your parents or elders as source, especially if they do not represent the majority of experiences. When we want to find something in a text, it is usually helpful to ask questions to ourselves. This helps us preview what we want to look for. If you close your eyes and think of the color green, when you open your eyes, you will easily find what you are looking for, which is green. This is the same with reading. By asking yourself questions, you are making yourself ready to look for whatever you are looking for. Here are some questions to help you determine evidence from the text. 1. What questions can you ask about the claims? Are they engaging in the topic or are they off? Another is, which details in the text answer your questions? Do they actually support the claims or are they just awkwardly inserted in the text? What are the most important details in the paragraph? What is each one's relationship to the claim? How does the given detail reinforce the claim? Next, here are some more questions. Of course, you do not have to memorize these by heart. Even I would have trouble. However, by asking at least some of these, you will be able to examine evidence better. So here they are. What details do you find interesting and why? What are some claims that do not seem to have support? Then we have a follow-up question. What kinds of support could they be provided with? Another is, what are some details that you find questionable? Why do you think so? Then we have, are some details outdated, inaccurate, exaggerated, or taken out of context? Lastly, we have, are the sources reliable? Remember that the goal of every question is to be critical. Look at the other perspective as well. When you see someone whose source is, dude, just trust me, of course we are bound to question them. We have to demand higher standards of the kind of discourse we engage in. Now that we have explored the conceptual definitions of determining textual evidence, let us put this into practice. A text will be flashed on screen. There will be a series of questions given to you. As I read the passage, try to find the answers before I finish reading. So, get a pen and paper ready for you to jot down what you would answer, or have another application on your device open to jot down. Afterwards, type your answers by answering each number. Then let us see if you got it right. You will be able to answer these by determining textual evidence. We will have 3 rounds of these questions, ranging from easy, average, and difficult as a warm-up. Let us begin. Before I read the text for you, here are the questions. So this will be a 3-paragraph text, very short to accommodate our limits. So answer the following. 1. What country is the passage concerned with? 2. Does the passage solely rely on scientific evidence to support its claims? 3. What does Halong Bay mean in English? 4. What is the largest floating fishing village on the bay? And 5. According to legend, how were Halong Bay's islands formed? I will now read the passage, so get ready to answer these questions by the end of my reading. Here we go. This text is entitled Emeralds in the Gulf. Containing some 3,000 islands, pillars, and caves, Vietnam's Halong Bay is one of the world's most picturesque seascapes. Located about 100 miles east of Hanoi, the bay is on the northwest coast of the Gulf of Tonkin in northern Vietnam. The porous limestone that makes up the area's rocks is responsible for Halong Bay's distinctive towers and caves. Next paragraph. Local lore paints a more vivid picture of the bay's origins. Halong Bay means descending dragon bay, and legend has it that when the Chinese invaded Vietnam, the gods sent dragons to protect the Vietnamese people. The dragons spit fire and gigantic emeralds to destroy the ships of the invaders, and the emeralds are said to have eventually turned into the many islands of Halong Bay. And finally, we have the last paragraph. The islands and their labyrinthine network of caves made the bay a perfect hiding spot for pirates during the 19th century. Although rumors of pirates persist, the bay is now known for its small resident population of fishermen who live in floating villages. Hua Van, the largest of these villages, contains more than 600 people and even a schoolhouse. In light of these unique features, the bay was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1994. Now, get ready to answer the questions you have seen a while ago. If you want to participate, type the number of the question and your answer down in the comments. Let us answer the first question. What country is the passage concerned with? Again, what country is the passage concerned with? What country did the passage talk about mainly? Let us answer this by determining the textual evidence given. Here is the answer. The passage is concerned with the country of Vietnam. We can see here in the text that this is true, highlighted by the red color. Easy, right? Moving on to the next question. Alright, next question. Does the passage solely rely on scientific evidence to support its claims? Again, does the passage solely rely on scientific evidence to support its claims? What do you think? Let us see. The answer is no. The passage does not solely rely on scientific evidence. As you can see from the textual evidence, it says that legend has it that when the Chinese invaded Vietnam, which is something we can all relate to, the gods sent dragons to protect the Vietnamese people. I know, unfair, right? Where are our dragons? But this is not scientific since legends are not based on science. Therefore, the answer is no. Hope you got that right. Third question. What does Halong Bay mean in English? Again, what does Halong Bay mean in English? Let us determine this with textual evidence. Here we go. Alright. This was explicitly stated here in the second paragraph. Halong Bay means descending dragon bay. Did you get it right? I hope you did. If you did not get it, that is okay. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn. If you do not try, you are not giving yourself the opportunity to learn from your mistakes. So remember, failure is an event, not a person. You're not a failure just because you make mistakes. Sometimes, that is part of being human. Anyway, let us answer the next one. What is the largest floating fishing village on the bay? Did you get it? Let us find out if you did. Here we go. By determining textual evidence, we can arrive at the answer. According to the text, Qua Van, the largest of these villages, contains more than 600 people and even a schoolhouse. It must be nice to live in a small village like that. Let us move on to the final question for the easy round. For the last question, according to legend, how were Halong Bay's islands formed? Let us find out. Alright, here is the answer. The islands were formed when dragons spit fire and gigantic emeralds to destroy the ships of the invaders, and the emeralds are said to have eventually turned into the many islands of Halong Bay. Did you get all the questions right? We have more. So, for the average round, we only have 3 questions. And the questions even have choices. I am about to read these questions, so take note of them. Then I shall read the 1-paragraph text to you. So answer the questions. 1. Slide 1. What feeling best characterizes the Grand Canyon evokes in the young man? You have 3 choices. Respectful awe, bland indifference, or overwhelming grief. Next, we have a literary question. What technique is the phrase as closely stacked as the pages of a book an example of? Is it alliteration, satire, or simile? Lastly, we have a detailed question. What color is not mentioned in the passage? Is it blue, sand, or ochre? I will now read the passage, so get ready to answer these questions by the end of my reading. Here we go. The Grand Canyon's length measures roughly 277 miles. That knowledge, however, seemed irrelevant as he stood before the deep slash in the earth stretched out in front of him. The red and ochre shades of the canyon strata, as closely stacked as the pages of a book, stood out clearly against the blue of both the vast sky above the sliver of the Colorado River below. He marveled at what millions of years of running water had fashioned from stone. For a moment, he felt immeasurably small. Get ready to answer the questions. Put the number before your answer and well, answer the question. Here we go. Let us answer the first question. 1. What feeling best characterizes the Grand Canyon evokes in the young man? You have three choices: respectful awe, bland indifference, or overwhelming grief. By determining textual evidence, let us answer this. As you may see, none of the choices are directly stated as is, but we have textual evidence that you can infer from. The text directly states that the persona marveled at what millions of years of running water had fashioned from stone. For a moment, he felt immeasurably small. When you marvel at something, you admire it greatly. This is obviously not grief. You don't grieve things that you think you are great. You think are great. This is also not indifference. Indifference means you do not care. The answer, although not stated word per word, is respectful awe. Did you get it right? Good job. Let us answer the next question. We have a literary question. What technique is the phrase "as closely stacked as the pages of a book" an example of? Is it alliteration, satire, or simile? Let us find out using textual evidence. According to textual evidence, something is being compared to our line mentioned in the question here. The one being compared to the pages of a book are the shades of red and ochre on the canyon. This is a direct comparison. That means this is not alliteration because that is a repetition of sounds. This is also not satire because it does not critique society. This is a simile because it is a direct comparison. How did you do? Were you able to spot this textual evidence? Let us move on to the final question for the average round. The final question is a question about a text detail. What color is not mentioned in the passage? Is it blue? Is it sand? Or is it ochre? Let us see. We have three colors mentioned here. We have red and ochre as the color of the canyon, and blue as the color of the sky. The color not mentioned in the passage is sand. Did you get all three questions correct? Who got all questions from both the easy and average correct? If you did, you should be proud of yourself. But I will pose another obstacle for you to pass through. Let us move on to the difficult round. This is the final round. Since most of the texts I gave you are straight to the point and they require you to find explicit textual evidence, I will give you a poem. Poems have textual evidence, of course, but you have to interpret them because most details are implicit. Do you have what it takes to answer these questions? So, here they are. What comparison does the poem make? Next, what does the poem tell you about man and nature? Lastly, what does the poem tell you about existence and life? We will use the same procedures. Answer the questions. Once I am done reading, try to answer them by writing your answers in the comments. Put a number before your answer to indicate which question you are answering. Here we go. This is the poem. It is just 2 lines. This is entitled In a Station of the Metro by Ezra Pound. I will read the poem twice. By the time I am done reading, try to answer the questions a while ago. Can you do it? Here I go. In a station of the metro, the apparition of these faces in the crowd, petals on a wet black bough. Again, the apparition of these faces in the crowd, petals on a wet black bough. Alright, let us answer the questions. You must be thinking, how can I get textual evidence from just 2 lines? Through critical reading, of course. You can still base from the text, but you have to interpret the technique, goal, and imagery of this poem. Here we go. For the first question, what comparison does the poem make? What did the poem compare? This might not be obvious, but you can find out just by looking at the text. You might find it confusing, but there are 2 things compared to each other here. We have the apparition of faces and the petals on a wet black bough. By the way, a bough is a branch of a tree or a plant. Also, an apparition is something that appears and goes away quickly, just like a ghost. You might ask, but sir, there was no mention that they are being compared. That is because this is a poem and this is implicit. Notice how beautiful it is to express such meaning in just 2 lines. If a direct comparison is called a simile, as given in the previous example, this is called a metaphor. A metaphor is an indirect comparison of 2 things. Therefore, in this poem, we have textual evidence that the persona is saying that faces in the train station are like petals on a branch. Did you get that right? Because if you did, great job. The next question is much more difficult. What does the poem tell you about man and nature? What? These 2 lines are telling us something about man and nature? Let us see what that is. We also have textual evidence for this. Alright. To answer this question, you have to interpret what petals may possibly represent in this poem and how this is being compared to people's faces in the crowd. Remember that petals are commonly regarded as beautiful. We do not normally associate branches or grass as beautiful, but petals mostly are beautiful. Now, contrast that with people's faces in a train station. It is possible that the persona is calling these faces or people beautiful. But since this is a poem, that cannot be the only interpretation. We can also interpret this by thinking of how flowers are naturally occurring in nature. Meanwhile, the opposite is presented with people's faces in a train station. However, they are being compared to each other. They are being called similar despite the contrasts in their setting. It is possible that the persona views the faces in the crowd of a train station as naturally occurring as well. And that we should embrace their existence, just like how we just accept petals in their natural state. To answer this, the word apparition has been highlighted. This is arguably the most important word in the poem, according to many. By describing something as an apparition, the persona is saying that whatever the apparition is, it easily comes and goes because that is what an apparition is. It is like a ghost. Remember that the faces and petals are being compared with each other, and therefore they may be both interpreted as apparitions. So, to answer the question, what does this tell you about existence and life? Simple, that just like apparitions, people's faces and petals, no matter how beautiful they are fleeting. They are short and limited. They will be gone. That is one interpretation. The poem is telling you that life is short, that existence is short, that all the people you see in the train station, all the people you see around you, will be gone someday, no matter how beautiful you view them. This discussion just took a sad turn. Did you have the same answer? Do you have another interpretation? Let us know in the comments. That is it for determining textual evidence. Before we end, here are some reminders. Remember, boys and girls, textual evidence can be explicit and implicit. In literature, like the poem I showed you, most evidence are inferred and are implicit, which will require critical reading to detect. Meanwhile, in arguments and informative texts, you should be able to find explicit evidence. Moreover, even if you rely on your own interpretation, you should be careful to interpret texts without considering the context, which is something we have discussed before. That is all. I am now turning you over to our next teacher, Miss Bernadette Calonzo.
Good day, everyone. I am Miss Bernadette Escalonzo, your quiz master for the We Learn segment of our discussion this afternoon. Today, I believe that you learned a lot of things from Sir Lester Zamora's discussion. What an interesting lesson, isn't it? Now, we will not let this day pass without testing if you really listened well in your fruitful discussion. But before anything else, for more fun and exciting learning, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share Radio Marcelo on Facebook and on YouTube. Here you can rewatch the lessons that you missed so that you can learn anytime, anywhere with Radio Marcelo, ang telearalan ng bawat Malulenyo. Now we can now proceed with our short activity. We will be playing another session of fact or bluff, just like what we had last week. Okay. Again, you are going to answer fact if the statement is true and bluff if it is not. Okay, and I will be monitoring your answers on our Facebook Live for today. Okay? So are you ready, Dalpilarians? Let's have the first one. Okay, number one. Any text can be interpreted without considering the context. Again, for number one, any text can be interpreted without considering the context. Okay? In every live session, we cannot avoid any technical difficulties. That's why we need to continue and we need to strive harder to earn the sweetest fruit of each discussion. Okay, Dalpilarian? So let's see. So we have here answers from Lloyd San Diego, Atalia, Agan, Russell, Shannon, and almost all of the grade 11 students. Their answer is bluff. So let's see. Very good. It is bluff because you have to consider the history, author, and the target audience. Okay? Now for number two. For number two, Textual evidence can be explicit and implicit. Again, textual evidence can be explicit and implicit. 10 seconds starts now. Is it a fact or a bluff? By the way, shout out to grade 11 TVL students, TVL 1 to 5. Hello! I hope that you're still watching until the assessment for your attendance. Okay? And also to all grade 11 students who eagerly and actively participating every broadcast. Thank you for your effort. Okay, for number 2. From Niana, Agan, Russell, Stephen, is this Sunil? Carla, Corny, and Sel, Isabella, Jana, Lance, Trisha, Charles, and almost all of the students, they answered fact. Is it really fact or it's a bluff? Let's take a look. Very good. This is a fact because textual evidence can be stated or not directly stated in a text. Very good, grade 11 students. And I really know and we observe that you learn a lot from Sir Lester's discussion. That's why you can easily answer this activity right away. Okay, for number 3. Okay, most evidence in literature are explicit. Again, most evidence in literature are explicit. Is it a fact or a bluff? Okay, for number 3, let's take a look at the answer. From Stephen, it is bluff. From Janelle Carpio, Sienna, Isabella, Luis, Jean, Alexandra, and almost all of the students, they answered bluff. Is it really bluff or is it a fact? Let's take a look. Very good. This is bluff because most evidence in literature are inferred. So they are implicit, not explicit. Very good, Dalpilarians. Now for number 4. Okay. For number 4, textual evidence requires a large amount of critical thinking. Again, textual evidence requires a large amount of critical thinking. Is it a fact or a bluff? Again, let's see if they can call. Very good. Delpilarians, they answered fact from, again, Aga, Niana, Lawrence, Jasmine, Carla, Isabel, and Isabella. Okay? Very good. That is fact. Now, for number 5, for our last number, evidence may come in the form of fact and statistics. Again, evidence may come in the form of facts and statistics. Is it a fact or a bluff? Okay. So for number 5, Delpilarians, what's your answer? Is it a fact or a bluff? Can we consider some statistics as a fact or it cannot be considered as such? Okay. So according to our grade 11 students, they all answered fact. Is it really fact? Let's take a look at the answer. Very good, grade 11 students. This is fact. They are objectively validated information on your subject. That's why we can really learn or we can really use this to support our arguments. Very good. Did you get the perfect score, Delpilarians? I knew that you get a perfect score because We really had a very meaty and fruitful discussion from Sir Lester. Very good, grade 11 students. Now for the second part of our assessment, here is the link. Okay. https bit.ly or bit.ly. All of those letters were small letters, and then slash 34 capital K capital E U A X. Okay, again, bit.ly slash 34 capital E or capital K, capital E, and small letter U, A, and X. And the QR code for our online assessment today. Again, scan or type the URL here on our screen, and this will serve as your attendance for today's discussion. And again, always be mindful because this link is key sensitive. That's why we really need to be mindful while inputting this on our browser. Again, don't forget to screenshot the G forms after you input all the needed information and send it right away to your RWS teachers or your GC or Google Classroom. For our evaluation, complete the paragraph with the necessary words or sentence that best describe what you have learned from the discussion with Sir Lester. And kindly submit it on your Google Classroom or as instructed by your respective RWS teacher. You can follow this format flashed on our screen. Okay, I learned that the counterclaims are: second, I value knowing the difference between of our topic. Okay, just like what is our topic again? You can comment it on our Facebook Live today. Okay, we have textual evidence. Again, for number 1, I learned that the textual evidence are or is. Next is I value knowing textual evidence because. And then I will use this lesson for what purpose? Okay? So I know that you already jot down this very important information for your own benefit. Thank you, Delpilarians. And for your assignment, refer to the evaluation part of your RWS or Reading and Writing Skills Learning Activity Sheet week number 4. Do not forget to submit your assignment to your respective Google Classroom or as instructed by your respective RWS teacher. Just like me, I wanted my students to submit their output using G forms to avoid distance cheating. Okay, we really need to avoid this so that we can learn anytime and we can maximize the learning activity sheets, the modules, this live broadcast for our own good. Okay, grade 11 students. So please avoid distance or digital cheating. Okay? So I would like to grab this opportunity also to thank RWS production team headed by our hardworking group head, Mr. Paulo F. de Guzman, and the whole senior high school UMS English Language Department for their unending love and support to our broadcast. And that is another quest filled with new learnings and fun. Tune in for our next episode where another adventure awaits here on iLearn. Innovative ways to learn reading and writing skills. Always remember, reading will never be boring if we create meaningful writings. For more fun and exciting learnings, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share Teleradio Marcelo on Facebook and on YouTube. Here you can rewatch the lessons that you missed so that you can learn anytime, anywhere with Teleradio Marcelo, ang telearalan ng bawat Malolenyo. Once again, this is iLearn with Mrs. Hilda P. Magahis, Mr. John Lester Zamora, and Miss Bernadette S. Calonzo. Class dismissed. learn.
I 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 learn innovative ways to learn reading and writing skills.
I learn, you learn, we learn at Teleradio.
And while our darkest moments test our dedication to read and write to become the best in all occasions,
Determination, a resolution to do our mission for your ambition.
I learn,
You learn, we learn at Teleradio. I learn, you learn, we learn at Teleradio.
and while our darkest moments test our dedication, your generation gets the best of education.
Magandang araw, Delphilarians.
Sa taon po ito, sa pagdiriwang natin ng Kasagaan ng Globe, mabuhay ang Pilipinas.
Teleradio is always at your service. Kaya naman, ang feedback mo, suggestions nyo ay mahalaga sa amin to improve our programs on air and online. Para alam ni teacher yung strengths as well as the things in your mind na mas makatutulong sa mas effective na pagkatuto sa Teleradio. Please take time to send your feedbacks via Teleradio Mu, which you can access by scanning the QR code on the right or typing the URL provided here, bit.ly/3ORVAY9. One more, this time you follow. bit.ly/3ORVAY9. Kaya send your hashtag TBH o hashtag RT dito sa Teleradio Mu kung saan ang feedback mo, suggestions nyo ay mahalaga sa Teleradio.
Makinig, manood na sa Teleradyo. Makinig, manood na sa Teleradyo. Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo. Sa gitna ng mapanubok na panahon, magkahatid sa kakibat ay diskusyon. Sama-sama tayo, kahit magkalayo. Sa programang ito, tiyak ang pagkatuto. Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo. Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo. Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo.